Hey YouTube, Wes here checking in with a brand new episode of the Vinyl Survivor series. This is episode number 146, No Sense of Direction. Let's go ahead and get into it. The Vinyl Survivor series is where I tell you what I thought of each album after I've spent some time with it, had a few chances to give it some listens, give it some serious thought, and let you know whether it's going to be staying in my collection back here or going away. So let's go ahead and get into it. This first album here is from Herbie Mann. It's titled SupraWes. And it is from 1976. Herbie Mann is a flautist. This is a very good album. I was very surprised at how much I like this. I was expecting this to be very disco-y, very late 70s. But this has some really good, enjoyable, jazzy kind of music, musical sound, musicality to it. So yeah, really good stuff on here, really enjoyable. Very sort of a Sunday morning light jazz kind of sound, very airy and very nice and pleasant listening. And maybe custom inner sleeve here. Some liner notes or an essay written by Arthur Levy. It's on the Atlantic label. So yeah, Herbie Mann, SupraWes, gets a thumbs up from me. I really enjoyed this, and I say grab it if you find it for cheap, and you probably will find it for cheap. I enjoyed it. It's very nice, easy listening jazz kind of stuff. Not cheesy at all, in my opinion. All right, next up, we got a piece of hair metal here. This is the third album from the band Rat, titled Invasion of Your Privacy from 1985. This one features the tracks You're in Love, Lay It Down, and What You Give Is What You Get. Yeah, just some very classic mid-80s hair metal. Sometimes it's fun just to put this stuff on. Just a very simple one-sided inner sleeve with a few liner notes on it, not much there. And that's once again on the Atlantic red and green label. So Rat's Invasion of Your Privacy, another one that gets a thumbs up from me, and it's staying in my collection. All right, next up we got a piece of synth pop here. This is the second album from the group Dead or Alive, titled Youthquake. This is the album that sort of made them big. This one has the track You Spin Me Right Round on it, like a record. So yeah, that was their big track. It went to number 1 in the UK, but it didn't do as well here in the US. And it's funny that this band and that particular track still gets recognized today, even though it really wasn't that big of a hit. It's funny how some of the big hits have sort of fallen away over the years, and other smaller hits have sort of worked their way towards the surface and are more well known as 80s hits. But a good solid synth pop album from them. If you like You Spin Me Right Round, you know you're gonna get some enjoyment from this album, and I definitely enjoyed hearing it because I was only familiar with that one song before this. It's on the Epic label. This is also a Stock Aitken and Waterman production, so that's good to know. You know, I've kind of been on the lookout since Matt Hayes has been talking about them a lot, and they were definitely more well known in the UK than they were here. Even though they did produce some hits that made their mark here in the U.S. Yeah, that was cool. So Dead or Alive, Youthquake gets a thumbs up from me, enjoyable, and is staying in my collection. Okay, next up we got a solo album from Randy California. This is Captain Copter and the Famous Twirly Birds. He did this right after he left the band Spirit. Sort of very soon after 12 Dreams of Dr. Sardonicus, from what I understand. That album took a long time to sort of take off, and they thought it was going to be a flop, so the band sort of broke up, and he went off and did this. And this is it's a very jammy, kind of all over the place kind of rock album. In my opinion, it's not very good. You know, it was an enjoyable one-time listen, but as far as an album, it's kind of weak in my opinion. It's very much, it almost sounds like they just had a jam session and recorded it kind of thing, which can be fun, but it doesn't make for a very memorable album. It's just sort of a fun sort of listen. This one is not going to be staying in my collection, unfortunately, for numerous reasons. Not just because I didn't enjoy the music that much, but also that it has some skips on it. It's on the Epic Orange label. So yeah, that was Randy California and Captain Copter and the Fabulous Twirly Birds. Unfortunately, not one for me and not going to be staying in the collection, and I'm going to have to get rid of it so nobody else gets this because it does skip. All right, next thing I have to share with you is a live folk concert from none other than Pete Seeger. This is his children's concert at Town Hall from 1962. Really nice recording of Pete Seeger in concert doing sort of a children's concert, even though there are times when he does more of adult type theme songs, but he had a way with children and a way of talking to children like they were adults and trying to help them understand the world through music. So yeah, just a really nice recording and a really nice nice album to listen to. This particular pressing is on Ruby Records, even though I think this was originally a Columbia release. I think this was a later release from the mid to late 70s. But yeah, you got some traditional songs on here like Michael Row the Boat to Shore, This Land Is Your Land, Henry My Son, Erie Canal, I've Been Working on the Railroad, Riding in My Car, stuff you know and love. So yeah, Pete Seeger children's concert, definitely dug it, and it's staying in the collection. All right, next up, something completely different. Moving on to a piece of Houston hip hop. This is Paul Wall with his second album titled The People's Champ from 2005. This one features his hit song Sittin' Sideways. And yeah, I do dig some Houston type hip hop stuff, and Paul Wall is pretty enjoyable, really good music when I go running. I have this on my iPhone when I go running and stuff, and it's cool to have this on vinyl, and I picked it up cheap. So yeah, Houston hip hop, good stuff. Got a little insert here with some photos on it. And of course, this being a modern release, it had to be put onto 2 LPs. So you got 2 LPs in here. There's one of the LPs, just black vinyl, white labels. Being in 2005, it's surprising to find this on vinyl at all. Paul Wall, The People's Champ, really nice find and enjoyable, staying in the collection. All right, next thing I have to share with you is the debut album from the band Nirvana titled Bleach from 1989. And this is not a 1989 copy of this. This is a modern pressing of this album. I was definitely not into Nirvana at this time. I was not into Nirvana when Nevermind came out. It took me till much later before I got into Nirvana. But I have learned to appreciate their music and enjoy their music, and I've been collecting their music. And yeah, this is definitely much more raw than Nevermind was. But yeah, very enjoyable to listen to. There's the inner sleeve photo on it. On Sub Pop Records. Very nice pressing of this. And yeah, I'm not really an expert on grunge music, not really an expert on Nirvana even. I enjoy their music, and so yeah, I enjoy collecting it and enjoy putting it on from time to time. So this is just a piece for my collection, and it gets a thumbs up for me, and I'm gonna be keeping it. Okay, next thing I have to share with you here is the debut solo album from Stephen Stills, self-titled. 1970 is the year on this. This is sort of shortly after Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young sort of split up for a while and people went their separate ways and did their own kind of things. This is a German pressing of his debut album here. Very nice. Just a solid album. I have to say Stephen Stills is probably my least favorite of the group as a solo artist. His stuff is just kind of, it doesn't really grab me for some reason. I don't know what it is. It just, I like the other members' solo work much better. But I still enjoy his work and I still appreciate it. So this is definitely a keeper for me. German label, German Atlantic label. Slightly different, but it looks very similar to the U.S. label. But it does say stamped in the dead wax. It said manufactured in Germany. It's pretty cool. So yeah, Stephen Stills, self-titled debut album, solo debut album, staying in the collection. And he lived here in Gainesville for a while, supposedly, and taught some guy named Tom Petty how to play guitar. So definitely a cool Gainesville connection anyway. All right, next up, staying in the CSNY alumni here, we have Graham Nash's Wild Tales. I believe this is his second solo album from 1973. I think this came out right at the end of 1973, titled Wild Tales. Yeah, I like this a lot better than Stephen Still's stuff. Very good musically. Can be very dark at times. He was dealing with the breakup with Joni Mitchell, and so it just definitely sort of grabs you more than that Stephen Stills did for me. So I really enjoyed this a lot, even though this was much less commercially successful. Really enjoyable album from Graham Nash. So I definitely am glad I have this. Neil Young plays guitar on here, but he's called Joe Yankee, I think is what his name is on here, since he couldn't contractually put his name on here. But yeah, you also got David Crosby on here, and Ben Keith plays on here as well. So yeah, just a nice group of people. Joni Mitchell even herself is on here for one track. So yeah, very nice album here. Orange and green Atlantic label, nice label, and it's on this really nice textured cover. It's kind of like Neil Young's Tonight's the Night, very textured, sort of soft kind of cover to it. And then the inner sleeve here, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it, but it says hello right here when you open it up, and it's all black inside, so that's pretty nice. Nice little attention to detail there. But yeah, Graham Nash's Wild Tales, definitely a big thumbs up for me. I really like this album quite a bit, and I say get a copy if you can, because it's good stuff, really enjoyable. Okay, and the last thing I have to talk about, moving back into the hip-hop realm here, we have the third studio album from Mr. X himself, Exhibit, titled Restless from 2000. This one has his hit songs X and Front to Back on it. It's a 2 LP set on the Loud Records label. So that's a nice one. And yeah, it's sort of, you know, late 90s, early 2000s Exhibit. Not the greatest hip hop in the world, but it is sort of its time, and you know, it's Exhibit. So I will be keeping this in the collection. So that's going to do it for this episode of the Vinyl Survivor. Thank you for watching. Leave me some comments down below. Give me a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. Subscribe if you aren't already to see future episodes and other vinyl related videos. Thank you for watching. Have a great day, a great night, and we'll see you again real soon. Cheers.